All right, guys, so we are ready for the last step. We have our hinge made, we have our shape imported, we have checked the size of our shape, making sure that the length and width, when multiplied together, is 20 square inches or less. So the next step is to apply our hinge into our shape. Now, right now, based on how I made my hinge and how my shape imported, I'm going to need to rotate my hinge. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a red box around everything in my hinge. I have this curvy arrow, and I am just going to go ahead and give it a 90-degree turn. 90 degrees is very important. Big hint here, if you hold the shift button, you can see all those little sections. When you hold shift, it makes it a lot easier to get right to that 90 degrees. So now that I have my hinge facing the correct direction, I want to leave a copy of my hinge kind of where it's at so things don't get messed up. So I'm going to leave that one kind of off to the side, and now I have a copy, and I am going to use my arrow keys. I think it's a little bit easier to do this with the arrow keys. And I'm just going to place my first kind of hinge where about I want it. So I'm thinking, okay, this is cat, kind of makes sense to maybe have a hinge kind of right where the neck level is for that movement. So as I go in, you can see my holes, but the rest of my hinges disappeared. So let's make a quick change to our imported shape. So this shape, when it imported in, came in at a height of 0.394. Not sure if yours is going to be the same or not, but we're all going to make this 0.25 tall because that's how tall we made our hinges. Okay, so now when I zoom in, you can start to see a little bit of that orange color, which is exactly what we want. So that's my first placement. And the big check that you want to do is that this skinny hole, so we have the two holes, we have kind of this wider one here, and then we have this skinny one here, is that skinny hole goes from one side of our shape to the other. So I'm going to keep kind of copying and pasting a few more of these hinges. I like to place all my hinges kind of before I start resizing things. So I'm going to copy and paste a new one of my hinge, and then I'm going to bring this next hinge over, kind of picking about where I want it to go. So what you'll notice this time is that my hinge does not go as the entire length of my cat here. So I'm going to click on this outside shape. You might have to zoom in. It's best if you can get to kind of that black one so that we're not changing the width of it. Yeah, we want it about there. So let me do that one again. So I'm going to try to get, you can see that it's changing in both directions. That's what we're trying to prevent. So let me change my view again. See if I can get it there. Now I can get to that black square, and now I can just pull it straight this way, getting outside of the shape. I'm going to zoom out and kind of slide my screen and scroll over to the other side and try to do that same fix. If I can get to that black square and just pull it straight out. Okay, so now when I look at that one, okay, it's going all the way out of the cat. I'm going to copy and paste another hinge over. So always coming back over here, making sure you get everything in there. Okay. Oops. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video now and get all of my hinges in, copying and pasting, getting them about where I want them to be, and then stretching that long hole all the way across. So I'm going to pause here, and then the video will pick up once I've had them all in place. Okay, so I've placed my last few hinges, and I'm double checking that each side of that long skinny hole is starting and ending outside of my cat. You do want to also make sure they're not cutting off any pieces. So if we kind of look in this bottom right corner here where that tail is, I really wanted to make sure that this last long skinny hole was not cutting through this tail, or else that piece would fall off. So you just want to kind of follow, make sure everything's connected together. So once you have all of your hinges placed where you want them, you're going to group the holes with your shape. So for example, for me, I'm going to group my holes with my cat. So I'm going to use the click and then hold shift method. So I clicked on my first hole, I'm going to hold shift, and I'm just going to go through and carefully click on each one of those gray kind of see-through holes. And then I am going to click on my cat. You would click on whatever shape you have, and I am going to start off by grouping these all together. So what you should see is you should have a break that goes all the way across your cat. You guys can see my hinge was still colored orange, so you can see that I have the hinge there. Because of how we did this before, kind of right down in the crack, you can see that the hinge has a hole in it, and then we can see that post going through. And what you ideally want to see is that your post is going into both sides of the cat. You should see kind of a space going around this hinge. That's what's going to allow all of that movement. So once you've grouped your holes with your shape and you've taken a look and made sure everything looks okay, then you want to group everything together. Okay, and so I can just select it all, and I just did a Control G. You can come up here and select from group, and what you'll see is each piece, so like this top part of my cat goes to the middle piece, but this next piece is connected through the pin, and you'll see that all the way through, and that is going to be how it will print out. So from here, you are ready to do your export as an STL. You will upload that into our STL submission in Google Classroom and then go sign up for the color you want it printed. If you have questions, let me know.